This My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by Kinetic Performance, the makers of the Rolls-Royce of barbell monitoring technology, the GymAware. Guys, in season training, we rock the GymAware all the time for quite a few reasons. The first, of course, is just that, the ding. Every time the athlete hears that, they know that they're hitting exactly what we need from them at that moment. And when they don't hear it, it brings out that extra little bit of competitiveness within themselves. On top of that, that awesome ding ends out bringing together the athletes as well, pushing each other and getting each other to be able to hit numbers that they probably wouldn't hit at that portion of the year. And finally, of course, that ding helps us monitor, manipulate, and keep track of volumes and intensities so we can best dose our athletes during the season at the right time with the right amount. Guys, hop over to kinetic.com.au and check out what Evan and the team down there have, because this is absolutely a sensational product that's changed the way that we've trained our athletes. This edition of My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by Valid Performance, the team behind the Nordboard, Force Decks, the Groin Bar, and Human Track. Guys, the most important ability for all of our athletes is availability, and that's the absolute goal of Valid Performance, is to provide solutions to performance professionals so that we can get the right information to make the right decision at the right time for the betterment of the athletes that we get to work with. To do this, guys, they have a wide range of validated products that focus on usability, and having been founded by the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences at the Queensland University of Technology, they're extremely evidence-based and they're beyond transparent. I can tell you that our time using the Nordboard and being involved with Force Decks, we have been introduced to so many amazing people that have truly helped us become better coaches, have a better understanding, not just of the technology, but also what we're doing with our athletes. So make sure you hop over to validperformance.com today to make sure you check out what they got. It's going to make you better and to do better by your athletes. Hey everybody, if you enjoy the podcast and the content that it provides, make sure you hop over and check out the all-new Strength Coach Network. The Strength Coach Network is the combination of the CVA SPS community and the Rugby Strength Coach community, bringing you what is sure to be the internet's leading resource for continuing education for strength and conditioning professionals. Combining these two resources has allowed us to bring some of the best content from some of the best minds in the world together for your one-stop shop to better improve the continuing education for not just yourself, but your entire staff. Bringing together all of the lectures from the Rugby Strength Coach community, along with the lectures exclusively done for the Central Virginia Sport Performance community, and all the lectures performed at the Central Virginia Sport Performance Seminar, make this an absolute must for performance coaches around the world. The world-class lectures at the Strength Coach Network are not all that you'll see as well. The discussion in the forums and the support and the career guidance from some of the top practitioners in the world, from people all over the world, makes this an absolute must and a great place for you to network, learn, and grow as a performance professional. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com and use the code CVASPS, that's CVASPS, to get your 48-hour trial for only $1. We're sure you're going to find great value in the Strength Coach Network and are really excited to have you involved. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com and use the code CVASPS to check it out today. Hey, what's happening, everybody? DeMayo coming at you with this week's edition of My Thoughts Monday. And today, guys, I kind of want to piggyback a little bit off of what we talked about last week, and that was the progressions and regressions that we were doing with the training program with some of the student athletes that we get to work with this summer here at this institution. And, you know, just to kind of to take a step back, excuse me, and to review that for a hot second. So, you know, after finally opening my ears and pulling my head out of the sand and listening to my assistant Mike Thompson, you know, we took and we went through a bunch of different exercises that we were using, 3 on the lower body day, 1 on the upper body day, and kind of set our players into what we felt is the best position for them to be able to train and load and push and move forward, with all the while trying to help them improve technique, mobility, strength, all those things, because in this general time of the year, we're trying to hopefully set ourselves up better to have a better developmental time during the year throughout the season as well. So we went through all that, and then that led us to what we were going to do with the rest of the workouts, right? And a big part of that was us looking at some things. And one thing, when we sat down and we met, we meet oddly as a staff here. We don't typically have like, we're going to meet on Tuesday at 11 o'clock at this location. It's more like, oh, we all got a break. Let's sit down and talk about what we're doing. And somebody will have something going on and they'll just start rapping about it. And everybody kind of gets into it. To be totally honest, I think it's pretty sweet. But we started talking about all this stuff one day. And it was brought up that, we talk about doing all this ground-based training, but typically we don't really address what's going on with the ground, right? Meaning like your feet, your foot ankle complex from your big toe through your ankle up your calf and then in that area. So we went back and we looked at some things that we had some success with in the past. And the biggest one was using the Vibram 5 fingers. And I think I've talked about this before. We have a kid who he had some bad issues with his feet, and he's been doing stuff for bunions where he's been, it was so bad to the point that he had to have surgery. And we started doing some barefoot training, did some of the stuff that Chris Corfist, talked about last summer at the seminar. And we've had some really good success with getting him to run more with his foot straight ahead and use that big toe when he's doing things. So we were like, well, maybe we should be trying to get these guys out of these shoes and doing more stuff that way. So we did it with a couple other guys, and they started having some good success. And kind of went back to the idea that when we did this the first time, the one thing that we noticed with that being the only change in our program was that there was a 10% increase in all the weights lifted after the same training cycle, with all the lifts involving having your feet on the ground. So that'd be like a standing press, squat, and a deadlift. So 10% more than the other time. So that was cool. So we're like, all right, let's do this. So got on the horn with Vibram. We got our guys sized. We got them fitted for them. And then we were looking at things and trying to figure out what we can do to help them get stronger still, right? Because they're still, they need to be stronger. We need to work on the work capacity stuff. We need to work on mobility things. We need to make sure we're making gains throughout the summer, and we're not just sitting here and using this time to be therapeutic and not have any production or forward movement towards our progressions, right? Like, just because we're trying to clean up a squat pattern or a pressing pattern or a single leg squat pattern, that doesn't necessarily mean, right, that they can't sit here and squat. Or excuse me, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't sit here and do other things, like things that we would have all considered GPP for the longest time, like dragging sleds and carrying things. So once we got through and identified what these primary lower body exercises for them were going to be, we then started working in these other aspects of the training program. And those are the two key ones, at least for me, on these lower body days, right? We are going to drag sleds forwards, backwards, and sideways. And we are going to carry implements. We are going to do farmer's walks. We are going to do waiter's walks. We are going to do overhead walks with a barbell. We are going to do one-arm farmers or suitcase carries. And we are going to get stronger at dragging things and carrying things. Because that simple strength, right? That's something that we've all complained about. That's something that we've all talked about, right? That like these young people don't seem to have. And we're keeping it extremely general. We're trying to get them to work on how they use their foot with the ground, how they can continue to walk straight and handle their feet in contact with the ground being loaded differently, whether it be walking backwards or forwards or sideways with a crossover, whether it be loaded with two hands next to their side or overhead or one hand, making them use their feet, making them control their feet. And we're going to push a prowler at the end, again, to get them to use that foot and control. We're not going to sprint with the prowler. What we're trying to do now is walk, push, and extend. And when they're able to do that and keep that foot as straight forward and back as possible, then we can start talking about adding speed. So we're looking at getting them to develop the best possible squats and the best possible patterns that are best for them, and try to improve that throughout the summer so that we can get better at those, the squat, the one-legged squat and the hinge, so that we can utilize that better in our developmental phase. And we're trying to build better function, strength, and capabilities through that foot-ankle complex by doing these other things. And hopefully, those tie together and we get better this summer. Now, we saw some pretty good improvements in sprinting speeds and such just by helping correct some of these stuff with these 3 guys that we got to run through this with before. But that's such a small group that I don't know if we could really hang our hat on it. What I do know is the guys do see the relevance to it. They do seem pretty bought into it, but it is really early. And it's really easy to be dialed in and bought in at this time of year. And then the upper body stuff, to be totally honest, is completely arbitrary based on what they look like with these movements. Those that have a hard time with these shoulder movements, with keeping their back in line without sacrificing their spine for their shoulder, are going to do different things. And I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of that I don't know 100% what we're looking at right now. A lot of that is going to be discussion with the kids. A lot of that is going to be discussion with Mike. And even more of that is going to be discussion with Adam, or my athletic trainer. And sitting there and being like, is that even something I need to worry about? Or is that something that we really need to worry about? Or is that something that we could maybe correct, if that's even a real term, with a couple simple things? So on that other day, we got our minds pretty open, and we're pretty flexible with what we're looking at. And then the last part of that is going to be the work capacity at the end, which is going to be the old Javoric complexes, the 6 upright rows, snatches, squat to press, bent over row, and then snatch from your shin. And why are we going to do that? Because the guys like it, flat out. A little work capacity work, a little fun, and we can get them to push themselves a little bit. Yeah, I know that what I've said with all those other things about, the having a goal and keeping the goal and doing all these things. But at the same time, with that being said, there's a couple times in the year where we have them for 8 to 10 weeks in a row, where we're sitting there and trying to work consistently on the same things. And this is something that they and the coaches really like. So you know what? I'm throwing them a bone there. And that's really it. Does it help with things like body composition and those sort of things? Of course. But on top of that, it's just something to keep them going, keep them excited, and keep them fired up. So that's the second half of what we're looking at here for the first half of the summer with the guys. We'd love your comments, interests, and feedback. Fire those below. And as always, guys, appreciate everything you do for us here at Central Virginia Sport Performance. We'll be back next week with another My Thoughts Monday. See you then.